to and
Member's
deliver
time has
a
expired,
future
and I
for
call
our
the
kids.
member, the Assistant Minister for Children and Families.
Again, another day, another fake news moment from those opposite. The fact is that when it comes to funding, those opposite speak with forked tongues. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about school funding, hospital funding, bulk billing rates or indeed preschool funding. Those opposites simply don't have a leg to stand on. Truth is, preschool funding is higher than ever and only going one way. The current deal is delivering more money to my electorate of Capricornia and continues to allow our hard-working early childhood teachers to deliver the start in life our children need. Our preschools do a wonderful job, especially those in our rural communities, where they act not just as an education shop, but as a community hub for parents, grandparents, children and teachers alike. Whether it is kindergarten, preschool, childcare or primary school, the education our children get in these foundational years is vital to unlocking opportunities later in life. The funding of these services is vitally important. The scaremongering of those opposite really knows no bound. They will scare the elderly by lying about the government potentially selling Medicare. Truth is, we haven't and we won't. They will scare families and teachers by lying about imaginary cuts to school funding. Truth is, funding is higher than ever and continues to increase. They will scare young parents by lying about funding for early childhood education. The government simply has not cut preschool funding. The coalition government will provide more than $440 million to states and territories for preschool in 2019 under the National Partnership on Universal Access to Early Childhood Education. The extension of the National Partnership will ensure almost 350,000 Australian children will have access to 15 hours of quality education each week, or 600 hours a year in the year before school. Every state and territory is now signed up to the extension of the National Partnership to continue to deliver universal access to preschool throughout 2019. We can only deliver this funding because the Australian economy is strong and Australians know who to trust when it comes to that. Those opposite may not understand what I've said, so I will repeat. We are increasing funding for services, and we can do so because the economy is strong and getting stronger. Now, I know there will be a conflicting idea from those opposite because their version of events is to slap taxes on the back of business and families, crippling the economy and costing jobs. We are building a strong economy, and part of that is because we are not afraid to stand in this place and say a certain four-letter word, and that four-letter word is coal. Now, we know those opposite are conflicted on coal because while the union masters might be tapping on the shoulder of Queensland MPs and candidates to support the biggest employer in central Queensland, they have been squeezed from the top as well, with ALP hierarchy telling them not to tell the world what they actually think. So who do we believe? What does Labor really think about coal? Do we believe the opposition leader, who must have nearly worn himself out hopping from one leg to another, saying one thing in central Queensland and another in his hometown and almond latte capital of Australia, Melbourne? Or do we believe the working-class union that pulls the strings and pays the bills? For that record, I, for one, support the CFMEU's demand on Labor MPs, and I am only too happy to say, yes, I support coal, yes, I support the Galilee Basin, and yes, I support the Adani Carmichael mine. I support these things because it makes good jobs for central Queenslanders, and it means more royalties and taxes for Queensland and Australia, because when the economy is strong, we as a government can deliver more for Australians. So I encourage every member opposite who wants the government to spend more money on preschools, on hospitals, on the unemployment queues, to join me in supporting and standing up for the coal mining industry and be brave to proudly utter the words, "I